The morning sun streamed through the tall windows of Thomson Enterprises' conference room on the 40th floor. Marcus Thompson, the 45-year-old CEO, sat at the head of the long mahogany table, his powerful presence commanding attention from everyone present. As one of the few black CEOs in the corporate world, he had built his company from the ground up over 20 years, turning it into a billion-dollar technology empire. Today's board meeting was especially important. Marcus had called all his top executives to discuss a massive merger with their biggest competitor. The deal would change everything, not just for the company, but for all 5,000 employees who depended on Thomson Enterprises for their livelihood. The numbers for this quarter are strong, Marcus said, standing up to point at the presentation screen. We're in the perfect position, Toe. Suddenly, he stopped talking. A sharp pain shot through his chest, making him grab the edge of the table. The room started spinning. James Parker, his CFO, was the first to notice something was wrong. Marcus? Are you okay? Before Marcus could answer, the pain became unbearable. He clutched his chest and collapsed onto the floor. The room erupted in chaos. Sarah Chen, his loyal assistant of 8 years, rushed to his side while someone called 911. Stay with us, Mr. Thompson. Sarah held his hand, her voice trembling. Help is coming. The next few hours passed in a blur of ambulance sirens, hospital corridors, and worried voices. When Marcus finally regained consciousness, he found himself in a private hospital room. A steady beeping of machines filled the air, and the smell of disinfectant was strong. He was about to open his eyes when he heard voices just outside his door. It was James Parker talking to Michael Reed, the marketing director. This might be our chance, James whispered. With Thompson out of the picture, even temporarily, we can push through those account changes. They'll never know about the offshore money. What if he wakes up soon? Michael sounded nervous. The doctor said he needs time to recover. We have at least a few weeks. By then, the money will be moved, and there's nothing he can do about it. Marcus's heart rate increased slightly, but he forced himself to remain still. His mind was racing. James Parker, whom he had trusted for over a decade, was planning to steal from the company. And he wasn't alone. Just then, a nurse walked in to check his vitals. Marcus barely opened his eyes, enough to see her name tag, Nancy. When she leaned over to adjust his IV, he whispered so softly that only she could hear, "Please help me. Don't tell anyone I'm awake." Nancy looked startled but maintained her professional composure. After finishing her check, she stepped out. A few minutes later, she returned with Dr. Williams, the chief physician. Mr. Thompson, Dr. Williams spoke quietly, checking to make sure no one else was around. The nurse tells me you're awake but want to keep this private. I should inform you that you had a mild heart attack. You're stable now, but... Doctor, Marcus whispered, I need your help. I just discovered something terrible happening at my company. I need to stay like this, seemingly unconscious, for a little while. Can you help me? Dr. Williams frowned. Medically, you're stable enough, but pretending to be in a coma, that's unusual. I know it's a lot to ask, Marcus said, but lives and livelihoods are at stake. I need to know what's really happening in my company, and people only speak the truth when they think no one's listening. After considering for a moment, Dr. Williams nodded. As long as you're not in medical danger, we can help maintain this situation, but you'll need to do physical therapy in secret to prevent muscle deterioration, and we'll need to monitor you closely. Thank you, Doctor. As Dr. Williams left, Marcus closed his eyes again, preparing himself for what was to come. Outside his room, he could hear more people arriving, board members, executives, and employees coming to check on their CEO. Little did they know, he would hear every word they said, every plan they made, and every secret they thought was safe to share in front of a man they believed was unconscious. The gang had begun, and Marcus Thompson was prepared to learn the truth about everyone around him, no matter how shocking it might be. The hospital room became Marcus Thompson's center of operations over the next few days. Every visitor who walked through the door revealed new secrets, thinking their unconscious CEO couldn't hear them. The steady beeping of medical machines provided background music to their confessions. James Parker visited every morning, always bringing coffee for the nurses, a gesture that Marcus now recognized as a way to buy their friendship. On this particular morning, Parker wasn't alone. He brought Laura Martinez, the head of human resources, with him. Everything's going according to plan, Parker said, settling into the chair beside Marcus's bed. The board doesn't suspect anything. They're too worried about the old man here to notice the account changes. Laura shifted uncomfortably in her seat. James, I don't know about this. What we're doing, it's not just illegal. These are people's jobs we're playing with. Don't go soft on me now, Parker snapped. You've already taken your share. $2 million in your offshore account, remember? There's no turning back. Marcus felt his heart rate increase slightly, but years of business negotiations had taught him to control his reactions. Inside, though, his mind was racing. Laura Martinez, who had handled employee welfare for 8 years, was also involved in the scheme. After they left, Sarah Chen came in for her daily visit. Unlike the others, she brought no hidden agenda, only fresh flowers and genuine concern. Marcus could hear her moving around the room, replacing the old flowers with fresh ones. Mr. Thompson, she said softly, I don't know if you can hear me, but something strange is happening at the office. She paused to sit down. I've been checking the financial reports like you taught me, and the numbers don't add up. I tried telling Mr. Parker, but he dismissed my concerns. I think someone's stealing from the company. Marcus wanted desperately to tell Sarah she was right, but he remained still. Her loyalty touched him deeply. Later that afternoon, Michael Reed returned with someone new, a voice Marcus didn't recognize. This is our chance, the stranger said. With Thompson out of commission, we can finally access the experimental technology division. My company will pay top dollar for those patents. Keep your voice down, Reed hissed. The nurse's mic here. Look, I'll get you the files, but I want my payment in advance. $5 million, just like we agreed. Marcus made a mental note. Michael Reed wasn't just helping Parker steal money, he was also selling company secrets to competitors. As evening approached, Dr. Williams came in for his secret checkup after the other medical staff had left for the day. He closed the door quietly behind him. Mr. Thompson, he whispered, how are you holding up? I've discovered more than I ever wanted to know, Doctor, Marcus replied softly. My company is like a house being robbed while the owner is away, except I'm not really away. I'm watching it all happen. Your vital signs have been stable, Dr. Williams said, checking the monitors. But this deception can't go on forever. The board is starting to discuss appointing a temporary CEO. Just give me 3 more days, Marcus pleaded quietly. I need to understand how deep this corruption goes. After the doctor left, Marcus lay in the darkness, processing everything he had learned. Parker and his group had stolen millions. Reed was selling company secrets. But there were loyal people too. Sarah, suspecting the truth and trying to protect the company. Even Nora Martinez showed signs of regret. Just as he was wondering who else might be involved, he heard the night nurse greeting someone at the door. The clock showed 9:30 p.m., well past visiting hours. I'm David Chen from Legal, a deep voice said. I need a few minutes with Mr. Thompson. Marcus knew David, his head of legal affairs for 15 years. What secrets would he reveal in the quiet of night? As David's footsteps approached the bed, Marcus prepared himself for more revelations. In just 2 days of playing dead, he had uncovered a web of theft, betrayal, and corporate espionage. But something told him the biggest surprises were yet to come. David Chen's late-night visit changed everything. Standing in the dim light of Marcus's hospital room, the company's head lawyer revealed something unexpected. I know you can hear me, Marcus, David said quietly. Marcus's heart skipped a beat, but he kept perfectly still. How had David figured it out? The nurses work for the hospital, but the cleaning staff works for a security company, David continued. I hired them 3 months ago when I first suspected something was wrong at the company. They've been watching everything, including your subtle movements when certain people speak. After a long moment, Marcus opened his eyes. How long have you known about Parker and the others? David pulled up a chair. 6 months ago, I noticed unusual patterns in our international transactions. But I needed proof, and I needed to know how high up the corruption went. I couldn't even trust you at first. Some of the transfers had your digital signature. They what? Marcus sat up slightly, his voice barely a whisper. Someone's been forging your signatures. They're good fakes? Good enough to fool the banks. I've been building a case quietly, but now with your coma, They're getting bolder and making mistakes. Just then, they heard footsteps in the hallway. Marcus quickly resumed his unconscious position while David pretended to check his phone. The door opened, revealing Robert Wong, the company's youngest director. "Mr. Chen, what are you doing here so late?" Robert asked, surprised. "Just checking on some legal documents that need signatures," David replied smoothly. "Though I could ask you the same thing." Robert shifted nervously. I need to talk to Mr. Thompson, even if he can't hear me. It's about James Parker." David nodded encouragingly, and Robert sat down near Marcus's bed. "Mr. Thompson, I should have told you months ago," Robert began, his voice shaking. "Parker forced me to create a backdoor in our security system. He said he'd expose my sister's immigration status if I didn't help. But yesterday, I found out they're planning to drain the employee pension fund. I can't let that happen." Marcus felt a surge of anger, but also sympathy for Robert. Parker had been threatening people, forcing them to help with his schemes. After Robert left, David waited a few minutes before speaking again. "That matches what we found. Parker and his group have been blackmailing several employees. They're planning something big, Marcus. Something that could destroy everything you built." "The merger," Marcus whispered. "They're going to use it as cover to steal everything they can." "Exactly. But now we have an advantage. They think you're out of the picture, and—" The door opened again, cutting their conversation short. This time it was Sarah, looking surprised to find David there. "Mr. Chen? Oh, I'm sorry. I was just—" She held up a folder. "I found something in the merger documents. There are irregularities in the company valuations." David and Marcus exchanged a quick glance before Marcus closed his eyes again. "Show me," David said. Sarah spread the documents on the small hospital table. "See these numbers? They've been altered. The real company value is much higher than what's being reported. Someone's trying to make our company look less valuable before the merger. They're setting us up for a hostile takeover," David realized. "Make the company look weak, drag down the stock price, and then their partners swoop in to save us, while they walk away with millions." Sarah's hand trembled as she gathered the papers. "What can we do? Without Mr. Thompson?" "We keep gathering evidence," David said firmly. "And we trust that when the time is right, justice will prevail." After they left, Marcus lay in the darkness, processing everything. The situation was worse than he'd imagined. Parker wasn't just stealing, he was trying to take over the entire company. But now Marcus had allies. David with his secret investigation, Sarah with her sharp eye for details, and even Robert, finding his conscience at last. Tomorrow would bring more visitors, more revelations, and more pieces to this complex puzzle. But for now, Marcus had hope. In trying to destroy him, his enemies had actually shown him who he could really trust. The fourth day of Marcus's hospital stay brought unexpected visitors, his family. The sound of high heels clicking on the hospital floor announced the arrival of his ex-wife Victoria, followed by the familiar footsteps of his children, Michael and Rachel. "Oh, Marcus," Victoria's voice was softer than he remembered. "You stubborn man, I told you to slow down years ago." She sat beside his bed, the scent of her familiar perfume filling the air. Michael, the 26-year-old son, stood awkwardly by the window. "Mom, can I have a moment alone with Dad?" Victoria hesitated but agreed, taking Rachel with her to find coffee. Once they were gone, Michael's confident facade crumbled. "Dad, I messed up. I messed up really bad." Michael's voice cracked. "I know you can't hear me, but I need to tell someone. I've been gambling. A lot. I lost more money than I had. And then James Parker found out." Marcus's chest tightened, but he maintained his stillness. His own son was caught in Parker's web. "Parker said he'd help me cover the debts if I helped him access your private files. I gave him your passwords, Dad. I'm so sorry. I didn't know he would use them to steal from the company." Michael wiped his eyes. "Last week, I'd overheard him talking about draining the pension funds. There are thousands of families who depend on that money. I can't live with this guilt anymore." Before Michael could say more, the door opened. Rachel entered alone, her steps purposeful. "Time's up, brother. My turn with Dad." After Michael left, Rachel's professional demeanor changed completely. She moved close to Marcus's bed and spoke in a near whisper. "Dad, It's Agent Rachel Thompson. Yes, you heard that right. I've been working undercover for the FBI's white-collar crime division for the past year. Victoria isn't just getting coffee, she's briefing my team outside. Marcus struggled to maintain his composed expression. His daughter was an FBI agent. We've been investigating Parker and his network for months. What you don't know is that Thompson Enterprises isn't his first target. He's done this before, infiltrating companies, stealing millions, destroying pensions. But this time, we have him. She paused as a nurse entered to check Marcus's vitals, then continued once they were alone. David Chen has been working with us. Those security guards he hired, they're FBI agents. We have recordings, documents, everything. But we needed to catch them in the act with the pension fund. The door opened again, and Victoria returned. But this time, Marcus heard something different in his ex-wife's voice, the confidence of a woman in control. "Rachel, update?" Victoria asked, dropping her worried ex-wife act. "He knows everything now," Rachel replied. "Should we tell him the rest?" "Go ahead, the room's secure." Rachel leaned closer to Marcus. "Dad, that heart attack? It wasn't entirely natural. Our investigation suggests Parker's group tried to poison you. The doctors found traces of a toxic substance in your blood work. That's why we have agents posing as hospital staff. You're still in danger." Marcus's mind raced. The corruption went deeper than he'd imagined. Parker wasn't just a thief, he was willing to commit murder. Victoria took his hand, her touch surprisingly gentle. "Marcus, I know you're awake. I'm not just your ex-wife, I'm the FBI special agent in charge of this investigation. We've been protecting you all along, but now we need your help to take them down." Finally, Marcus opened his eyes, meeting Victoria's gaze. "You could have told me earlier about Rachel's real job." Victoria smiled. "You weren't the only one playing dead. We've all had our secrets, but now it's time to work together. Parker's group is planning to move the pension funds tomorrow night. If we're going to stop them, we need to coordinate our efforts." "Michael," Marcus said quietly, "he's caught up in this too." "We know," Rachel replied, "but he came to us last week, wanting to make things right. He's been helping us gather evidence." As his family shared their plans, Marcus realized that this crisis had ironically brought them all closer together. His daughter was a skilled federal agent, his son was finding redemption, and his ex-wife had been watching over him all along. Tomorrow would be the day of reckoning. But for now, Marcus Thompson wasn't just a CEO fighting to save his company. He was a father proud of his children and a man rediscovering trust in those closest to him. Early the next morning, Sarah Chen's small office at Thompson Enterprises became the center of resistance. She sat at her desk, surrounded by loyal employees who had discovered the truth about Parker's schemes. Robert Wong from it nervously paced the room while David Chen studied documents spread across the conference table. "The pension fund transfer is scheduled for midnight," Robert said, running his hands through his hair. "Parker's using maintenance time to bypass the security systems. He thinks I don't know, but I placed hidden cameras in the server room last week." Sarah pulled up financial records on her computer. "Look at this. Small amounts have been disappearing from employee accounts for months. They took just enough that no one would notice. $10 here, 20 there. But when you add it all up, $3 million, they get finished. And that's just the beginning. The pension fund has over 50 million, if they succeed tonight." The door opened and everyone froze. But it was just Rachel Thompson, carrying a stack of files. Only David knew her true identity as an FBI agent. "I've been working in the mailroom for the past year," Rachel explained to the group. "And I collected copies of every document Parker's team tried to shred." She spread the papers on the table. "Look at these signatures. They forged my father's name on dozens of documents." Just then, Sarah's phone buzzed. It was a text from the hospital. Their signal that the room was clear for a video call with Marcus. They had set up a secure line, carefully hidden from Parker's surveillance. Marcus's face appeared on Sarah's laptop screen. He looked tired but alert. "What's our status?" "Parker's getting careless," David reported. "He's called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. Plans to declare you mentally unfit to lead the company." "Perfect," Marcus smiled slightly. "That's exactly what we want him to think." "Sarah, did you plant those fake medical reports I told you about?" "Yes, sir. Let them right where Parker's assistant would find them. They show your condition getting worse. Good. Marcus leaned closer to the camera. Now listen carefully. Parker thinks he has everything under control. His people are watching all of you, but they don't know you're working together. Robert, is the new security system ready? Robert nodded. It's hidden inside the old one. When they try to access the pension funds tonight, it will seem like their passwords are working. But really, they'll be trapped in a closed network. Every keystroke will be recorded. Rachel? Marcus turned to his daughter. FBI teams are in position, she said quietly. We have agents posing as security guards, cleaning staff, even the coffee cart vendor. The moment Parker's team starts the transfer, we'll have them. Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the hallway. Everyone quickly scattered to look busy as Laura Martinez, the HR head, walked past the office window. She paused, looking suspicious, but moved on. That was close, Sarah whispered. They're watching us more closely now. Because they're scared, David said. Parker knows something isn't right. He's been calling emergency meetings, changing plans last minute. You can feel the pressure. Marcus nodded on the screen, which makes him dangerous. Remember, he already tried to kill me once. Everyone be careful. Trust no one outside this room. Just then, Michael Thompson slipped into the office. Dad, we've got trouble. I just overheard Parker on the phone. He's moving up the timeline. They're starting the transfer at 7 p.m., not midnight. The room erupted in quiet panic, but Marcus remained calm. This is good, he said. Parker's rushing, which means he'll make mistakes. Sarah, alert Victoria. David, get your evidence ready. Robert, make sure that trap system is active now. What about you, sir? Sarah asked worriedly. I'll be checking out of the hospital in 1 hour, Marcus said with determination. Parker wants to declare me unfit tomorrow morning. Let's see how he handles facing me tonight. As the video call ended, the small group of loyal employees looked at each other with a mix of fear and hope. In just a few hours, they would either save Thompson Enterprises and bring down a criminal network, or lose everything they'd worked for. Sarah straightened her desk, her hand brushing against the family photo of all the employees taken at last year's company picnic. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about protecting their corporate family from those who would destroy it. The evening sun cast long shadows across the Thompson Enterprises building as James Parker gathered his co-conspirators in the executive conference room on the 40th floor. It was 6:45 p.m., and tension filled the air. Everything's ready, Parker announced to the small group. In 15 minutes, we start the transfer. By tomorrow morning, we'll be $50 million richer, and this company will be ours. He looked around the room at Michael Reed, Laura Martinez, and 3 other executives who had joined his scheme. What Parker didn't know was that a small camera hidden in the room's smoke detector was broadcasting everything to Sarah Chen's office 10 floors below. There, Sarah, Robert, David, and Rachel watched the meeting unfold on Robert's laptop. They're all there, Rachel whispered into her hidden microphone, alerting the FBI teams stationed throughout the building. Suddenly, Laura Martinez stood up in the conference room. Wait, she said, her voice shaking. This isn't right. These are people's retirement savings. Families depend on this money. Parker's face hardened. It's too late for a conscience, Laura. Or did you forget about the $2 million already in your account? You're in this too deep to back out now. In Sarah's office, Robert's computer pinged. They're trying to access the system, he reported, his fingers flying across the keyboard. Just like we planned. They think they're in the real network, but they're actually in my trap. Upstairs, Parker smiled as his access codes appeared to work. See, nothing can stop us now. Start the transfers. But before anyone could move, the elevator chimed. The conference room doors opened, and Marcus Thompson walked in. The room froze. Parker's face went white, as if he'd seen a ghost. That's impossible, he whispered. You're in a coma. Surprise, Marcus said calmly, straightening his tie. Behind him, Victoria and 2 FBI agents entered the room. Did you really think you could steal my company that easily, James? Parker lunged for his laptop, desperately trying to complete the transfer. It's too late. The money is already moving. Is it? Marcus smiled. Robert, show them what's really happening. Every screen in the conference room suddenly lit up, showing the trap network Robert had created. They watched as Parker's every keystroke was recorded, documenting his attempted theft. "You're finished, Parker," Victoria announced, holding up her FBI badge. "We have everything. The forged signatures, the blackmail, the offshore accounts. And let's not forget the poison you used to try to kill Marcus." Parker's calm facade cracked. He reached into his jacket, pulling out a gun. "Nobody moves," he shouted. "I didn't spend 2 years planning this to fail now." But he had forgotten about Laura Martinez. She was standing right behind him, and without hesitation, she grabbed the heavy crystal award from the conference table and swung it at Parker's hand. The gun went flying. FBI agents swarmed the room. As they handcuffed Parker and his accomplices, Laura broke down crying. "I'm sorry, Mr. Thompson. They threatened my family. But I've been working with David for the past month, helping gather evidence." Marcus put a gentle hand on her shoulder. "I know, Laura. David told me everything. You made a mistake, but you helped make this right in the end." Sarah, Robert, and David rushed into the room, followed by more FBI agents. Through the windows, they could see police cars gathering in the street below. "The pension fund is secure," Robert reported, checking his laptop. "They never got past my security trap. Everyone's retirement savings are safe." Marcus looked around the room, at Sarah's loyal determination, Robert's technical brilliance, David's quiet strength, and his own family's incredible support. Even those who had been messled, like Laura, had found their way back to the right path. "Dad," Rachel said, now openly wearing her FBI badge, "we need to get everyone's statements. This is going to be a long night." "A long night," Marcus agreed, "but a good one. Tomorrow, we'll start rebuilding. This company has always been about more than just money. It's about family, trust, and doing what's right." As Parker was led away in handcuffs, he turned to Marcus with hatred in his eyes. "How long did you know? How much did you hear in that hospital room?" Marcus straightened to his full height, his voice firm. "I heard everything, James. Every lie, every scheme, every betrayal. But more importantly, I heard the truth about who I could really trust. And that was worth every minute of playing dead." The next morning, Thompson Enterprises buzzed with energy as employees arrived to find FBI agents still gathering evidence. News vans crowded the street outside, their reporters eager to cover the story of the century. CEO fakes coma to catch corporate criminals. Marcus sat in his office for the first time since his coma, looking at the sunrise through his window. Sarah brought him his favorite coffee, just like she had done every morning for 8 years. "The board members are gathering in the main conference room," she reported. "They're nervous. 5 of their colleagues were arrested last night." "They should be nervous," Marcus said, standing up. "Let's go show them what real leadership looks like." As they walked to the conference room, employees stopped to stare. Some applauded, others looked away in shame. They had believed Parker's lies about Marcus's condition. The corridor felt longer than usual, each step carrying the weight of what was about to happen. Marcus pushed open the conference room doors. The remaining board members jumped to their feet. These were the ones who hadn't been involved in Parker's scheme, but they had been blind to it. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus began, his voice strong and clear, "please sit down. We have a lot to discuss." Victoria and Rachel stood at the back of the room, still in their FBI roles. David Chen sat near Marcus, ready with legal documents. Robert worked on his laptop, projecting evidence onto the screen. "Last night," Marcus continued, "we stopped the largest corporate theft in our company's history. James Parker and his accomplices tried to steal $50 million from our employee pension fund. But that wasn't all." Robert clicked through slides showing documents, bank transfers, and security footage. The board members gasped as they saw the full extent of the corruption. "For 2 years," Marcus explained, "Parker's group stole from every part of this company. They took small amounts from thousands of accounts. They sold our trade secrets to competitors. They even tried to kill me when I got too close to the truth." One board member, an elderly woman named Janet, spoke up. "But how did you know to fake being in a coma?" Marcus smiled. "I didn't, at first. When I regained consciousness in the hospital, I overheard Parker and Reed planning their crimes. That's when I realized. Sometimes you have to play dead to catch the snakes in your garden." He walked around the table, making eye contact with each board member. But here's what really matters. While some betrayed us, others showed extraordinary loyalty. Sarah Chen spotted the financial irregularities months ago. Robert Wong helped us track every digital crime. David Chen built a legal case that will put Parker away for decades. Rachel stepped forward, her FBI badge visible. And let's not forget Laura Martinez. Yes, Parker blackmailed her into helping at first, but she chose to do the right thing in the end. She's cooperating fully with our investigation. The board members shifted uncomfortably. They had all worked with Parker for years, trusted him, never questioning his actions. So now, Marcus said, his voice growing serious, we have two challenges. First, rebuilding trust with our employees, our investors, and each other. Second, creating a company culture where this can never happen again. He pressed a button, and employee faces filled the screen. Thousands of them, from every department and level of the company. These people trusted us with their futures. Parker betrayed that trust, and we're going to make it right. Starting today, we're implementing new oversight systems. Every financial transaction will have multiple checkpoints. Every employee will have a direct line to report concerns. And most importantly, we're going to remember what this company is about: people, not just profits. Victoria stepped forward with a stack of papers. The FBI's investigation is ongoing. We'll need cooperation from everyone in this room. But Mr. Thompson is right. This is your chance to rebuild something stronger. As the board members began signing the new oversight documents, Marcus looked out at the city skyline. The morning sun had fully risen now, casting a warm glow over everything. It felt like a sign. A new day, a fresh start. Sarah touched his arm gently. Sir, your son Michael is here. He'd like to speak with you about his role in all this. Marcus nodded. The hard conversations weren't over yet, but at least now, the truth was finally in the light. 1 month after the dramatic events at Thomson Enterprises, Marcus stood at the podium in the company's main auditorium. All 5,000 employees were gathered to hear him speak, with thousands more watching via video link from offices around the world. A month ago, Marcus began, his voice carrying through the quiet room. This company faced its darkest hour. We discovered betrayal at the highest levels, but we also found extraordinary courage, loyalty, and integrity among our people. In the front row, Sarah Chen sat beside Robert Wong and David Chen. They had become heroes within the company, their actions saving not just money, but people's futures. Laura Martinez sat with them too. After helping the FBI, she had been given a second chance, now leading a new department focused on employee ethics and support. Today, Marcus continued, I'm proud to announce that every dollar Parker and his group stole has been recovered. The pension fund is not only safe but has grown, and more importantly, we built something stronger than before. He clicked a remote, and images appeared on the giant screen behind him. They showed the new security systems Robert had designed, the ethics hotline Laura had established, and the community outreach programs Sarah had organized. But the real change isn't in systems or programs, Marcus said. It's in how we treat each other, how we listen when someone raises concerns, how we protect those who speak up, how we help those who might be tempted to make wrong choices. In the second row, Michael Thompson sat watching his father. After confessing his role in Parker's schemes, he had entered a gambling addiction program and was now working in the company's new community support division, helping others overcome similar challenges. Rachel, still officially an FBI agent, stood at the back of the auditorium. Her undercover assignment had ended, but she had decided to stay with the Bureau, specializing in preventing corporate crime. She caught her father's eye and smiled proudly. Some of you have asked why I chose to fake being in a coma. Marcus addressed the question everyone had been wondering about. The truth is, it wasn't just about catching criminals. It was about learning who we really are when we think no one is watching. He paused, looking out at the sea of faces. In those quiet hospital room moments, I heard both betrayal and loyalty. I learned that for every person plotting in the shadows, there were dozens more working honestly, caring about their colleagues, and doing what's right. Victoria, who had led the FBI investigation, now sat on the company's new oversight board. She nodded as Marcus spoke, remembering how their family had come together during the crisis. Today, we're not just celebrating the recovery of stolen funds, Marcus said. We're celebrating a new beginning. Every employee will now have shares in the company. Every voice will be heard. Every concern will be taken seriously." He gestured to the people in the front row. "Sarah Chen is our new Chief Operating Officer. Her integrity never wavered. Robert Wong is our Chief Technology Officer, using his skills to protect rather than hide. David Chen remains our Chief Legal Officer, but now leads our expanded Ethics Department. And Nora Martinez shows us that it's never too late to choose the right path." The audience applauded as each person stood to be recognized. There were tears in many eyes. Tears of pride, relief, and hope. "Last month, James Parker sat in his office plotting to steal your futures." Marcus's voice grew stronger. "Today, he sits in a federal prison, learning that crime doesn't pay. We're not here to dwell on his betrayal. We're here to build something better." He stepped away from the podium, speaking from his heart now. "I'm not just your CEO. I'm a black man who built this company from nothing, who faced discrimination and doubters, who nearly lost everything to betrayal. But I'm still standing. We're still standing. And together, we're stronger than ever." The auditorium erupted in a standing ovation as Marcus looked out at his corporate family. Sarah's proud smile, Robert's quiet determination, David's steady presence, Laura's grateful tears, his children's loving support. He knew that sometimes the worst betrayals could lead to the greatest transformations. The company hadn't just survived, it had been reborn. And Marcus Thompson, the boss who pretended to be in a coma, had learned the most valuable lesson of all. The truth always comes to light, and integrity, in the end, is the greatest power of all.